Well, needless to say, it's been an interesting couple months. Things haven't gone down exactly the way many of us wanted, and yet here we are all the same, at a crossroads of sorts in the life cycle of Warhammer 3, and hopefully it's gonna be all uphill from here. The long-awaited and eagerly anticipated roadmap has finally made its debut, and unlike what the image on screen might imply, it's actually quite thorough and detailed, giving us a good idea of what to expect for the rest of the calendar year. Bug fixes, major patches, improvements to auto-resolve, unit interactions, skill tree reworks, and a Regiments of Renown free LC for every playable race are on the docket and slated to release over the next month or two. And beyond that, the Assembly Kit, Blood Pack, Warriors of Chaos update, and Immortal Empires will start hitting sometime in July. We'll also be getting two major DLCs, a Lord Pack, and in all likelihood, the Chaos Dwarfs this year as well. So let's dive into the specifics of what exactly we should expect and when, and I'll give my thoughts and impressions on everything as it comes up, because there's quite a lot to break down and digest here. Just to give you guys a bit of context for where I'm at right now, and to make it clear for those who maybe aren't aware, Immortal Empires for Game 2 came out exactly 28 days after initial release, September 28th, 2017 to October 26th. I never felt the need to go back to Warhammer 1 really, because all that content got ported over in less than a month. There was plenty of content to hold us over for 28 days. That was never going to happen for Warhammer 3. I've been saying for more than a year now that people should expect a substantial 4 to 6 month waiting period after launch, because there's so much more content at this point to port over. There's so much more work that needs to be done. The scope of the series has expanded tremendously over the last 5 years. So I was ready for that. I was ready for that long haul on the wait for the combined campaign. Or at least I thought I was. I will say, if Mortal Empires in Game 2 had taken 3 or 4 months to come out, my feelings about it would have been quite similar to the ones I have now. No matter how well Warhammer 3 was going to do, you just can't replace 60 plus lords and a combined campaign with 15 unique races between games 1 and 2. So player numbers were going to drop no matter what. Not everybody loves demons. People love their high elves, they love their Skaven, Bretonnians, Empire, all that. None of that content is playable right now. People were going to drop off. But what I wasn't ready for, of course, was interest tapering off quite so quickly, and to the extent that it has, and the reception to Realms of Chaos being so severe. It's been a bit of a shock to the system. For me and a lot of other players, it really just boils down to the variety, which is the highlight of this series, and as awesome as the demon factions are, without being threaded into that massive interwoven experience, and the ability to play them with and against all the other races we love in the old world, Nagaroth, Ulthuan, and Lustria, well, it's been problematic, and burnout's been real, not just for you guys, but for content creators as well, and I'm not the only one experiencing that right now. Unfortunately, we're not quite through the storm just yet, but starting in early May, just under a month, things will start picking up again, and if the roadmap is to be believed, there's a lot to look forward to in this calendar year. So, starting with Update 1.2 next month, more of the major noticeable issues in battle design will be addressed, and it's pretty much just a laundry list of people's major complaints with the game right now. Stuff like AI factions, rebuilding their towers too quickly in minor settlement battles, single entities, dry humping opponents in a stagger state when attempting to land and attack. Saw that with Bellicor trying to hump that Terracotta Sentinel. Your vassals, as Slaanesh dragging you into war. Anti-player bias from the AI. Units like Scarbrand stomping through your battle lines like they don't even exist, and hyper bright snow that looks like you just had a bad trip on acid. 1.2 is actually going to be a huge patch, because on top of all that, auto-resolve is finally being addressed, so in an ideal world, you won't have to play out so many useless, foregone conclusion minor settlement battles. Unit responsiveness when attempting to fire at enemies or dodge spells will be further improved. The major problems in regards to single entities targeting enemies will be touched upon, dueling in particular, although I do not even remotely expect for that problem to be entirely fixed, considering we've dealt with that issue off and on since the start of the trilogy, but that should hopefully mean less time with world beaters like Dakari aimlessly shuffling around or downright whiffing dudes who are 2 feet in front of their face. We've got tech trees and character traits being rebalanced, which are some of the elements I consider unacceptable in the transition from Game 2 to Game 3. How weak and terrible a lot of those are. Makes it seem like lessons weren't learned in the way that they probably should have been. And replenishment rates for Tzeentch and Slaanesh will be adjusted to help them out a bit. We will also be receiving our first batch of Regiments of Renown. Sounds like one for each core faction, although I'm not quite clear yet if Ogre Kingdoms will be included in that. And this is clearly a sorry dudes, we screwed up token kind of gesture. An extending of the olive branch, as it were, because I'm fairly confident this was not initially planned for this moment, and if the reception of the game had been better, not sure it'd be happening at this point, but that means we'll have some tangible content coming with the update as well. I wouldn't expect anything special in regards to their models for these Regiments of Renown. They will almost certainly just be recolors with unique traits, not the more exotic versions like the Ravens Heralds for the Dark Elves or some of those spicier options we've had in the past, but it should still be a solid addition all the same. So, that is patch 1.2. I do not expect it to revitalize interest in Warhammer 3 all by itself. I do not expect player numbers to jump dramatically once it's out, but these are still core issues in need of fixing, and CA isn't going to get people back on board without laying the groundwork and doing that dirty work first. So, still an important step as we move forward. After that, things start getting a lot more exciting. I do not know specifically when the first look or early access for Immortal Empires will become available, but it sounds like it's going to be this summer, perhaps sooner rather than later. Starting with update 1.3 in July, we will get our second full batch of Regiments of Renown, and an increase in the ratio of land battles versus minor settlement battles, which should help reduce the slog and will pair super well with the improvements to auto-resolve. That is also when the assembly kit will drop, which will massively help modders in pushing out the big-time content, and I imagine that's when we'll begin to see custom siege maps, battle maps, and the true power of overhauls like Catap's closer to tabletop, and SFO be brought to bear, which has me super excited, because modding tools are a huge step up over what was available in Warhammer 2, which means our amazing modding community will be able to create some true works of art in Game 3 with all that additional functionality. Can't wait to see what they come up with. Now, this is when the timeline gets a little bit blurry, and it does seem like they're leaving a little bit of wiggle room on either side, but with update 2.0, we will see the beta version of Immortal Empires sometime this summer. Could be as early as July. As I said, the official map reveal and early access for content creators will likely come before that. Creative Assembly have been playing Immortal Empires for many months now, so there is already a workable build. It just isn't ready for mass consumption yet. What's interesting to me, if not entirely surprising, is that they will be considering it a beta to highlight its ongoing development. So it will be an integrated open beta with return of proving grounds, and they'll use that to fine-tune it and make adjustments over the following months based on player feedback. Although I can't tell if that means it's going to be an opt-in build you have to switch to, or if integrated means it will be an automatic update for the main game. Either way, Immortal Empires will be dropping alongside 3 major content additions as well. An old world update to the Warriors of Chaos, who have languished in despair for many years at this point, Blood Pack number 3, which of course will be automatically unlocked if you own it from a previous game, and the first Lord Pack of Warhammer 3's lifecycle, which was undoubtedly pushed back after all the backlash with initial release. And we basically have confirmation of what it is too, because they specifically talk about 4 champions, which means Lord Packs are getting an overhaul for Warhammer 3. Doesn't sound like this will be a faction versus faction Lord Pack rivalry. It will instead bring the mortal champions of Chaos into the fold, and will almost certainly include the Chosen, Chaos Knights, and mortal units the current demonic armies lack. Now, because it's coming alongside the Warriors of Chaos rework, I won't pretend to know for sure exactly how they're going to divvy up all that content, what the Mono Gods will get, what Archaon will get, whether Sigvald will be moved, and so on, but I will still contend that the Mono Gods should receive some Chaos Warrior and Chosen variants, as well as the aforementioned champions, who most likely refer to Valkyrie the Bloody, Festus the Leech Lord, Village the Curseling, and then either Strikar, Dakala the Denied One, or Azazel, Prince of Damnation, for Slaanesh. That update is going to be huge for the game, because in one fell swoop, essentially 5 races will be dramatically improved. All 4 demons and the Warriors of Chaos. And even if we don't end up loving the content split and how it's divvied up, the implementation and all that, and if they can't make everybody happy, well, we'll still have modders able to work with all the Chaos assets and mortal armor that comes in that update. So I can't really get mad, even if the implementation isn't great. Modders will be able to fix that, and this is one instance where I think the framework will be so massively increased here. There will be so much for modders to work with that no matter how they do it, even if it's not exactly what I want, I'll still probably end up being happy because I'll be able to find a modder who does do exactly what I want them to do. Anyway, a lot of interesting implications there with Lord Packs now being made up of 4 characters, although of course we don't know yet if that will be the true new blueprint moving forward or just a logical way for them to quickly improve all the Chaos factions in one go. Moving into the fall, we will get a 3rd round of Regiments of Renown, continued improvements for Immortal Empires, and from what it sounds like, some major reveals still to come. I do believe the Chaos Dwarfs will be a part of that as a campaign pack type DLC near the end of the year, which will do wonders, of course, and end 2022 on the right foot. That's not copium, it's not hopium. I do think the Chaos Dwarfs are coming this year. So, it's not perfect, it's not been anywhere near as fast or as smooth or as great an experience as we all wanted, but this is exactly the kind of communication and transparency we've been looking for as a community, and if they're able to deliver on the rough dates they've set forth here, I think Warhammer 3 will be back on track, and we'll have plenty to be excited about over the next 6 or 7 months. Things have clearly been delayed, but I'm not sure this is that far off what I would have initially expected before release. We also got an interesting breakdown on the chat functionality and why that is missing. I think they're probably going to trigger some people with their choice of wording and providing safe spaces. And to an extent, I'd argue, hey, it's the internet. People are going to be dicks on the internet. Get over it. But they are correct in that their chat system is indeed outdated in this modern era, that it's currently lacking tools to report people or prevent abuse, and that it needs some loving and a bit of an overhaul. So I've got no issues with them updating their chat system and improving its functionality. It's a shame they've ripped it out of all the other games, but hopefully they're going to be able to send it back out into the wild in all their old titles, Shogun 2, Warhammer 1, Warhammer 2, which I think literally just had its chat function removed in the patch this morning or yesterday morning. And once that's done, we'll be able to communicate in-game just like we always have. It's an important feature to have in a multiplayer game, or in a multiplayer mode, I should say. So that is what we have to look forward to this year. There's a lot to digest there, so let me know what you all think, and I'll see you all in the next video. Indie Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.